Yo, 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 it's me, your boy, High Five Vega. We're at day 3 of the 12 days of streaming. It's not just me today. I'm joined by a guy you might know. I call him Justin. You might call him the DIY audio guy. What's up, Justin?
What's up, Rob? How are you tonight, man?
Doing very well. I'm so glad you happened to join me on this stream. We're going to talk about some upcoming projects, but before we do that, Santa has brought us one of his elves to just pop in and give us a quick little shout out. Let's just get him on stream.
Let's see who Santa's elf is. Oh, Big
Oh,
D. What's
Yo,
up?
yo, what is up, people in the YouTube universe? I just want to drop in here. Thanks, Rob and Justin, for allowing me to pop in here for a couple minutes. Want to remind everybody after Rob's stream with Justin here, check out the Kicker stream on YouTube, and they're doing the giveaway tonight of the quad box. It's going to be a good time. So come over and join us. Thank you guys for checking us out here and checking Rob out in his 12 days of streaming. Make sure you subscribe to both of these guys and show them some love. Big D just come to say hello, happy
yeah.
holidays, and I'm going to drop out.
Yeah, and check out the giveaway. Derek is he's gonna match them whatever they give away. He's gonna double it, and it's gonna be really fun.
Rob is making up stuff now. But no, seriously, you guys have a great show. I'll watch as much of this as I can, but I'll see you guys later tonight if you can join in. Thanks a
All
lot.
right.
Take
Thanks,
care.
D. We'll see you tonight.
See ya.
If you wouldn't mind me jumping in real quick, I got a question for all the people in the chat. I want to know how many people in the chat had entered the drawing, the kicker drawing for the quad box. If you would just give me a hashtag me or a hashtag quad box or something in the chat, I want to know how many of your viewers
Yeah.
went for this deal.
Oh man, it's. I don't think that I could fit that in the trooper, and I mean I wasn't gonna enter anyways, but that thing. You've got to be a special kind of person to be able to fit that in your vehicle. You got to get the wife approval. There's many things that have to go into it.
There's nothing that I can put it in at the moment. I'd have to pull the back seat out of my truck, and I need the back seat in the truck. We do have a minivan that my wife used to drive that we're holding for a teenager who's going to be driving soon, and I can't get through to him. He says, "No, Dad, I don't want a bunch of bass. I'm more of a rock and roll guy. I like heavy metal. And there's no bass in heavy metal." It's like, yes, there is.
Yeah, the kick
There's
drums, bro.
plenty. That's what Kicker got their. That's where they got their start, man. This is
Yeah,
back before the heavy bass rap music was a big deal when they started putting those truck boxes together that really kicked. That's the beginning of it.
yeah, for sure, man. I mean, that's how they started. They rock music. It's what the kids were doing back in the what 73. Let me see. I got
Yeah,
73.
73.
Yeah,
That's a long time ago.
yeah, for sure.
You know the another thing about that quad box, I don't have an electrical system that I would trust to handle the power you need to run a quad box. Uh,
Yeah,
I need to upgrade an alternator. I need other battery. I need to get some of them Yinlong sales or something like that.
man. That the funny thing about me, I've never in my car run more than a 1500 watt subwoofer amp. Biggest amp I've ever run in any vehicle I've ever done car audio.
I think about back in the '90s when I last tinkered with car audio before I got involved and started the YouTube channel. I remember I had a single 12-inch MTX Blue Thunder on a Sherwood amplifier. Can I get a hashtag Sherwood? Does anybody in the chat remember Sherwood? Who ran a Sherwood back in the day? Give me a hashtag Sherwood. And that single 12, the first box I ever built, it was crap, man. That box was terrible. Air leaks, sounded horrible. But it was in the trunk, and the fabric of the back seat made enough of a filter so you could crank it up and
Yeah,
enjoy it. And so back then a sub didn't seem to need as much power. They had more sensitivity. The
yeah.
cones were lighter. It was just a little bit different game. But now with these big high roll surrounds and stuff, you got to throw power at them. Um,
Yeah,
and
the amps
how?
couldn't keep up in the days, the
Yeah,
subwoofers kinda surpassed them, and the amps were lagging behind until, we started getting to these full bridge designs, which, Kicker's been running for a while, Matt's been running. People didn't even realize that, because they only think of
Oh
the
yeah.
Brazilians.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure the old Alpine that I ran for several years in my truck, the MRP or MRV 500 is actually a full bridge. I think I remember Bearvid saying that. Um,
Yeah.
I see in the chat that Kyle Sherwood was his first CD player. I remember the Sherwood CD player.
Yeah.
And 2001 Monolithic had some Sherwood action going.
I'm so sorry that Sherwood was your first CD player, because I can
Oh,
imagine the trouble you had with that thing.
oh wow! My first CD player was a Sony Changer, and the head unit got stolen.
Yeah.
And I left the car over the weekend in a parking garage out behind my apartment when I was living in Knoxville, and someone bashed the window, and they just mangled the dash, just ruined the dash, and they reached in and yanked the stereo out, and they cut all the wires off, like they cut the factory harness.
Yeah.
And then they unhooked all the wires and just threw the whole wire bundle into the passenger seat and left with the radio with no wires. And it's like, and I was done with that car. That car had some other problems, and it ended up getting scrapped not long after that because I never could get the window right. And it's like, why would you just cut the factory harness and then leave all the wires?
I saved myself from one of those. I've told this story before, but I don't know that you've heard it. So this is my base head entry. I backstrapped all my CD players because I didn't want them to skip. So I put 2 or 3 backstraps on the back bolt so I could get them rock solid. Well, the guy could not get for the life of him. He had a screwdriver and he couldn't get it out. So he just took the faceplate off. I didn't take it off and take it in with me. And then the speakers were all mounted. He could not get those. He just stuck the screwdriver in those and done one of these. Good times.
See, Will Addington said he had a Denon. I remember my buddy in high school had a Denon tape player, and that was the first aftermarket tape player I ever saw that had an auxiliary input jack where you could plug a portable CD player into it.
Yeah.
Those Denons back then were top of the line stuff.
Oh, they were the best. And I've got a funny tape player story for you. So back when CDs were coming out, this is well into the early CD era. I had bought the nicest Clarion tape player I could afford with the motorized faceplate. And dude, I was so hardcore. It's like, no, CDs are not as good as tapes. I was so invested in that purchase that it was another year before I went into CDs. And it was just simply because I bought that, and I was just so hard headed, like, yo, I'm sticking to these tapes. I got this motorized tape deck. It's so sick. No one's gonna buy it now, so I just got to run it.
Yeah, you're in it. That's that's one of those things about gear. When the new thing comes out, the old gear is a lot less valuable. I don't know I'm not good at picking new gear that has a great resale value. I've not had much luck selling things for what I think they're worth. So every amp that I've had since I got back into car audio 6 years ago that I pulled out, I couldn't get any bites on Craigslist for what I thought it was worth, and so I just kept the amp. My Rockford Fosgate Prime is my test bench amp now, and the other amps come out when I need to like shoot a video and say, oh look, here's an amp. Let me show you how to set the bass boost. You don't. Leave it at 0.
Yeah. Speaking of which, you had a very funny video come out recently where you played it pretty straight. You played it straight the whole way through it, and I really appreciate it. I do the same thing. I'm just deadpan, and then you're like, oh yeah, you don't. You just don't use the bass boost.
Yeah, you just don't. And I think about I just watched an Amp Dyno video on the Budget Gym or Budget Bust page. And every time he shows you the end of an amplifier and he shows you the controls, he says, there's the bass boost. Leave that alone. There's the bass boost. I don't know why they put these on amps anymore. And I was thinking about that, thinking, let me make a 3-minute video and just for fun. It was intended to have a little bit of humor. At least one person commented that they, were going to jump in and leave a dirty comment because you shouldn't use bass boost. And then they're all like, oh, great. That's kind of what I was shooting for.
At least they caught it. Speaking of videos, let's talk about what projects we got coming up? Which ones have we done recently? What's going on in the DIY audio guy world? What's coming up? What have you just finished?
So anyone that follows my Facebook or my Instagram page knows that I've been putting a lot of pictures up of some work I'm doing on some ports. And mostly because I haven't had time to edit much video lately. That I'll tell the truth. My wife got like a box set of Doctor Who DVDs. Doctor Who went off of Netflix, and she got a box set the other day. And we just been marathoning Doctor Who, and it's just like, I want to watch Doctor Who, or I want to edit a video. It's like, I think for the first 6 or 7 days of December, I'll just watch Doctor Who. But I've been posting on Facebook and Instagram whenever I get something I think we're taking a picture of. And what has happened is that my subwoofer plate amplifier from my home theater subwoofer, it just started sounding scratchy. I can't figure it out. I'm not an amp repair guy. And so when the amp doesn't work right, the amp has to go. I don't know. When I crack them open, I look at all the parts and I go, what the hell is this? Once you get inside the amp, I have no idea what's going on. How about you, Rob? You know what goes on inside of an amp?
No, I mean, I have an idea of what every section is,
Yeah,
but I don't understand how to troubleshoot anything. If I see something, if I see a blown MOSFET, oh yeah, I could probably replace the MOSFET, but what caused that MOSFET to blow? And it's just so on and so forth. I don't think I've ever repaired one amp in my whole life.
I attempted to repair one. My older brother, for some reason, he gets lightning strikes and it cooks his amplifiers. And so, El Fuego, thank you.
He says they're proud owner of 150 foot of CCA wire and the laughing stock amongst his car audio friends.
There's nothing wrong with CCA as long as you don't expect it to hold as much power as OFC. I mean, it's just math. It's 15% more resistive than pure copper wire. So you've got 85% of the capacity. So as long as you're not out there trying to run a lot of power through it, and as long as your connections are mostly someplace where they're not going to get wet, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. It's not the evil everyone says it is. And the way I look at it, the people who say, "Oh, only the best, you got to have copper." Well, silver is more conductive than copper. Why don't you move to silver wire? Yeah. And then people start saying, "Well, it's expensive. Silver's like really valuable." And so's copper.
That was my point whenever Dean was talking about the dream system. I was like, well, if that's the case, I want all silver wire. If we can ask Santa for anything in the dream system, I want pure silver wire.
Yeah, I mean, that's, when I was doing my research for my amp wire, calculator videos, I looked up resistivity of different wire types, and one of the things that popped out was that silver's just like, copper is the reference, right? So it gets a 1 score, and anything above a 1's better, and silver's like 45,000 or something huge. It's so much better. But I mean, silver's expensive. They don't even put silver in British money anymore. But so, I mean, and that's fine. But people say, "Oh, only the best." Well, where's your silver wire, buddy?
Yeah, what? You're doing it wrong.
Well, that's crazy. Well, if you only want the best, you need silver wire.
Well, that's
it's too expensive.
A lot of us will pass bolts through an enclosure for power, especially on bigger systems, and a lot of people want to use the copper.
Is not as good a conductor.
Yeah, and then you want to use the stainless steel because it looks nice, and I use it too because it looks nice. But honestly, back in the day, we used to use zinc plated bolts because those were the cheapest, most cost effective conductive bolts you could get.
Oh, William NGA Technology had a Clarion with an 18 disc changer.
Dang.
Oh, where did you find an 18 disc changer?
That's Mr. William Berg. He's an old school baller, man.
That's sweet.
That's like the music bank.
I feel like we got off topic. Oh, where were we?
Yeah.
Bills, right? And so I went and bought a slightly cheaper amplifier off of Parts Express, and I'm rebuilding that. And in the process, I'm trying to make it a whole lot better because that was my very first DIY project. Well, I guess mounting subs in a prefab box for the truck was the first one, but the one where I decided I'm going to build a speaker, that was it. And I made it out of birch plywood, and I put a nice finish on it. And I've been staring at it for about 5 years, hating it because all I can see are the end grains on the plywood.
Yeah.
And I hate edge grain on plywood. I think it looks terrible. And so I'm trying to design the box so there's no edge gain on the birch plywood. And if you can maybe share my screen real quick, let me see if I can do that.
Yeah.
I'm going to see about, I'll show you the layout in SketchUp here.
Yeah. Let's see it. So
Let's
have
see
you
it.
thought about doing 45s as the joining?
I have, but every time I do a 45, I fail dramatically. So I am going to, what do I need to do? Share screen, window.
And then you should be able to pick which you can pick either an individual tab or your whole screen.
I've got to be a tab. I've got to do entire screen. Whoops. All right. I'm getting all kind of messages here. I'm just going to hit allow and hope it works.
Okay, I see it, I think.
Okay, here we go. Is that it? There we go. You getting the image of the subwoofer enclosure?
There we go.
So that's it. And so what I'm going to have is, you'll notice I got this edge right here where my mouse is over. So the idea is I'm going to have edges sticking out so that these edges around here will be covered by another piece of wood. And then I'm going to put some edge banding right here. I got some birch edge banding, and the top's going to be edge band. I got a small radius right here. And so there'll be a lip that hangs over, and there'll be edge banding on it. And so this will be a side right over here, and the entire side will be covered. Well, this front side will have an edge band on it, and everything else will be hidden. So there'll be an edge band on these sides, an edge band on this bottom, and edge banding on this top, and hopefully cover up the plywood end grain. In the middle, I got a brace, and then I've got a support for the ports. I've got a video going to drop, I think tomorrow or later this week that I've already scheduled that'll show the process of fabbing up the port. And I got some really cheap, cool ports from Parts Express. They're these nice big flares that look really nice. And so I'm going to have a connection from the front of the enclosure to the back. Let me see if I can pull up some images here of some of this stuff. So that's going to be the baffle. And I think I've decided that what I'm going to do is just do a clear polyacrylic on the baffle so that it really has a nice contrast. It really pops between that light colored birch and those black ports. And I'm going to probably take a little spray paint and go around the edge of the this recessed baffle here so that it's a nice dark contrast. And man, my workshop is a mess. I need to clean up. I am bad about keeping the backgrounds clean in my videos. There's a mock-up of what it's going to look like when it's all set up inside the enclosure.
That's looking pretty good, man.
It's turned into something that's terribly complicated. It's just a subwoofer box. I should have had this thing finished in 2 hours, but for some reason, and check this out right here. This piece of plywood that I got had this really great grain pattern on this side here.
Yeah.
But it was too dark for what I wanted to go for. I really want to go for a lighter color. And so that was kind of this is a little video. I think I can play it here. Y'all see the video?
Yep, it's playing.
So that took a lot of work to get those port tubes cut out. Just brad nail them, glue them together, and then cut them out on the router. And so it's set up to be a nice smooth entry all the way down from one port to the next.
Yeah, that's looking good.
Yeah.
Have you ever used any Danish oil to finish?
I've got some Danish oil out in the garage, and I kind of hope to try it out sometime. I've wanted to try it for a while. One thing that I have tried is just shellac. This workbench over here.
Yeah.
This workbench is the same height as my table saw, so it serves as an in-feed or a side feed or an out-feed table. And I shellacked the top of that. That's just MDF that's shellacked. And I keep my dust collection system underneath it, except when I drag it out all over the messy shop so I can trip and fall and break my neck and land in a sharp bit or a blade.
Walmart had those shop vacs on sale, the Heart ones for like $29.
Oh, yeah.
I almost wanted to buy like 4 of them and then get those little switches you done a video on.
Oh,
and just have them set up at every station.
Yeah. The same company that makes Rigid, Ryobi, and Milwaukee makes Heart. It's TTI.
Oh, yeah. I can't remember someone was just talking about that. What's it? We both watch his channel. The Tool Bear. Dental Tools, there you go.
Yeah. There's a shot of the brace and stuff. Let's see if I can stop sharing here. There we go. I tell you about the Den of Tools. I don't watch them as much anymore because the Tool Bear led me astray on a couple of things. Um,
Oh yeah.
and so and when Harbor Freight first came out with their upscale line of like drills, 20-volt tools, the Hercules,
Yeah.
he was big on those. And so I went out and I decided they're inexpensive. And the best part about those was the batteries were dirt cheap.
Yeah.
So I went and I bought a big 20-volt drill, one's a little 12-volt drills, and I love the little 12-volt drill because it's great for working inside of a car because you don't have this big giant drill you're dragging around with you. It's a small little drill, not as good as the Milwaukee stuff by any stretch of the imagination. But then they went out of stock on all their stuff, and then they came back and the battery prices doubled.
Huh.
And the thing that made them cost effective and compatible,
Yeah.
competitive with the
Yeah.
rest of the tool market was the fact that you could get a 5 amp hour battery for 50 cents or something crazy like that, just really cheap for those big batteries. And so we got a couple of super chats, man. Grab those real quick because I can talk
Yeah.
forever.
All right. Scott, Merry Christmas, y'all. First setup was a pair of Punch HE12s on a US Ants 51. Pretty sweet. And our dude Scott is actually going to be doing some of his own audio called Power Hog Audio. So y'all will be seeing that on the DIY pages.
All right.
And then the next one is a little trollish Skip 01. You look like untouchable Pokemon that breaks out of the ball. Hey, he's sending our dudes in here as spies because they are streaming at the same time. We're going to
Okay.
war with them.
Who is this we're going to war with?
Everyday Audios.
Oh, okay. I think I've heard of some of those guys.
Yeah. They're all right most of the time. And then Scott hit us one more time. Says Snap-on tools are number one. Yeah,
Yeah, they
man.
make great tools.
Yeah. I mean, you can't argue against that. You
So
can just argue about the payments you're going to have to pay weekly for the rest of your life.
Yep. The other downside to those Hercules tools is they were supposed to come out with this massive lineup. And I don't know if the pandemic got in the way or the Chinese tariffs, the whole trade war got in the way, but they just didn't. And so I'm sitting here waiting, got money to spend, waiting on all this massive lineup of tools that never showed up. And so I just switched to Ryobi because they're affordable and they got a huge lineup.
Yeah.
When my channel hits 100,000 subscribers, I'm tossing it all and buying Milwaukee.
Oh man. See, I almost got 10,000 subscribers and I got all Milwaukee.
All right.
So there's your goal. You can I will say that I think they invested in the Bauer line. I know this is way off topic, but they're expanding that, and then the Hercules is just like whatever.
That's exactly what's happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have gone ahead and gone into the Milwaukee line, but then I looked up what the Brad nailers cost, the cordless nailers.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, it's like I kind of need one of those for what I do, and so.
Yeah. Did you get the cordless nailer then, the Ryobi?
Yeah, I did. I used it in the video that's going to launch this week. So it.
Oh, I'm gonna check that out, man. I want to hear your thoughts on that thing because I've considered. I used just the Harbor Freight. You've seen the one I use. It's probably 10 years old. You could get it for like $12, but it's held up.
If it works, it works. The biggest problem I have with the Ryobi cordless nail gun, I have no experience with any other cordless brad nailer besides the Ryobi. It's just really bulky and heavy.
Yeah.
And right now, all I've got's a 4 amp hour battery with it. And I picked up a 4 amp hour battery when I bought a skill saw. And so I'm expecting Santa Claus to bring some a kit with some smaller batteries. But it, just a little bitty, cheap pneumatic nailers I've been using from Harbor Freight are just lightweight and small, can fit into tight spaces. You just got to drag the dang, hose with you everywhere you go. I'm trying to get away from cords and hoses. That sounds geeky.
Well, I just told my wife I wanted a wall attachable hose. I seen one on one of the tool channels that I watched, and they had it on clearance for like $30. I was like, yeah, I need that because I do like the size of the. I guess we can talk about this because we're both woodworker guys, so this is right in our zone. But I like the size of pneumatic tools when it comes to woodworking and die grinding and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I've not tried any battery powered die grinder or anything. I do have a cordless Dremel that I've had forever,
Yeah.
And recently I realized that all my little Dremel attachments and stuff were all missing or lost and stuff. And so I bought a little Dremel attachment kit.
Yeah.
And
This guy said to nuke $50 a week till you die.
Oh, that's not that bad for Snap-on tools. 50 a week,
Yeah.
that's all. But yeah, that's my thing I'm working on right now at the exact moment. The big project is taking up my time. What about you? What are you working on right now that's taking up your time?
This 12 days of streaming. I don't have any videos coming up because I've got this. I plan on this. I was like, I'll just finish the year out with this. After the 12 days of streaming, we're gonna go visit family in Pennsylvania and hang out at a remote cabin for the week. So that should be fun. But yeah, man, I'm just doing this. I finished up the what's the last video I done? Oh, the Vivaldi Dream amp. It's actually killing
Yeah.
it. It's getting a lot of views. It didn't make ratings, sadly, but I thought it was a good sounding amp. It was fun to test, and yeah, a lot of people hated it.
It looks cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it is a beautiful amp. I said this in the video, but if it was rated appropriately, if it was rated 90 watts by 4, it would be a totally different conversation about the amp. It would be a complete 180 because no one would have any ammo besides, the price.
Man, you gotta give Third Arrow a shout out. He just dropped some change on you, man.
Yo, Third Era, what's up, man?
I saw him pop in the chat, and I was gonna say hi to him before he had a chance to
Yeah.
chance to drop the money on you. So I'm glad he did that. That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
I
now
tell you what, I
if they're
like about
dipping
Third
back
Arrow.
into Everyday Audio's podcast, I'm ashamed of y'all. All right, go ahead. Go ahead, Justin.
What I like about the Third Era, one thing he's done on his channel is he's basically said, "Hey, I'm going to enter a contest and I'm going to try to win a trophy," and he did that before he started the build.
Yeah.
That's bold right there. That's hey, I'm going to go get a trophy and here's how I'm going to do it. And he starts his build, and that's the way to do it right there. Let me predict the outcome. Let me call my shot.
You got to have a little swagger, man. If you're going to be
yeah.
doing bass, you got to have swagger. There's no doubt about it.
All right. So what? You did the Vivaldi amp. You got any builds coming up? You doing any work on the Trooper?
Actually, I am doing a lot of work on the Trooper. I had I'll just go ahead and tell y'all about this since you're on stream. I got one right here. Matter of fact, that I can reach.
Wasn't trying to ruin your
No.
planned big reveal or anything. Just
No.
saw some pics.
This did not
Ooh.
work. Let me see if I can get it to focus. This did not work in my build because everything fit. But the problem with it is it was too close to the grill, the factory grill. And I'm one of those, I'm a weird guy. I understand I'm in the minority, especially on the Trooper. I do not want to modify the Trooper in any way for audio. I would rather use an inferior driver than modify the Trooper because, for one, it's hard to find parts in.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not my jam. It's not what I like to do. I don't have any feelings against people that do. That's their prerogative. But for me, I don't want to modify it. So I'm changing this up. This is not going in there.
Anytime you start cutting, you're making a commitment when you do that.
Yeah.
You better have some spare door panels for if you botch it. If you ever need to put them back on. I picked up some junkyard A-pillars probably a year ago for if I ever decide I want to do an A-pillar build. I'm going to build them on the junkyard A-pillars and mess those up and toss those out and then go get another junkyard A-pillar because I've never done that. I want to try it sometime. But
yeah,
that's
the way to do it. Yeah, if you could get the parts, that's the way to do it.
Yeah, it takes some swagger and bravado to start cutting into a car. So
appreciate it. This is my dude, Brandon Hanna. He actually helped me run wire in the Trooper. He ended up popping by. He drives truck. He let me know he's gonna be by. I was like, "Yeah, man, come by the house. We'll hang out." We grilled. I made him pull the 1/0 through this tiniest little grommet, dude. We were pulling on that. It almost pulled the jacket off the wire. We were pulling on it so hard.
I see James Kaiser said hello. Hey, James Kaiser, what's up with you, man?
DIY, what's up? Yeah. But yeah, man, I modified these to even get them to fit in the door. These had some rings here, so I cut those off, and everything fit. I got it in. The depth was good, but they just didn't. They didn't do the thing.
That's okay. It goes that way sometimes. What are you gonna put in there instead?
So I've got some Rockford Fosgate Power Series 6.5s, and I don't know if I'm going to use that tweed or not yet, but I'll definitely use the mid because I checked on my favorite place to look for these things, Crutchfield, and that is one that they sell and they recommend to fit in there. So I picked that up, and it will be. I hope everything's good. Everything looks good by the measurements I've taken. So
If Crutchfield says it will fit, it'll fit.
yeah.
They've yet to steer me wrong.
Yeah, they really, that's one of my favorite. That's the first place I go. And every time if I can find it price reasonable or something that's full, price that you can't buy cheap, I always buy from Crutchfield when I can.
Well, the Crutchfield's the way to go if you're just, you're a DIYer. You don't have all the tools for making custom mounts and stuff because they send you everything you need to make it fit in your car. And there's just, it's kind of nice to know that you're going to have that bracket, that adapter, that wire harness, and it's going to work most of the time. When I put the backup camera in my wife's car, I had to find the reverse trigger off the back tail light. And I'm
Yeah.
looking at this going, no idea. Picked up the phone, called Crutchfield like on a Sunday. And the guy's like, oh, yeah, it's the, black and gray wire. No problem. I don't know how he looked it up. I don't know what magic database they've got sitting over there, but they've got it. So,
And if you look at them, a lot of times they'll have a build log basically where they've just done the whole thing and they've kind of blueprinted it out and they just have all the information right there. They should make videos of all this stuff, but I guess that'd be an extra step that they don't want to add.
yeah. The other thing, too, you got to remember about speakers is the nominal speaker sizes that are listed. They
Yeah.
don't mean a darn thing. They're nowhere near close. I have no idea what metric they use. My door speakers now are SB17s from SB Acoustics,
Yeah.
and I like them just fine. But according to the Medea Sound website where I got them, that's a 6-inch driver.
Yeah.
Well, that 6-inch driver, it dwarfs the 6.5-inch Polk Audio coaxial that I pulled out of that door. And most of the time, Crutchfield says the rear doors on that truck, a 5 1/4 is all you can get in there. Well, that 6.5-inch Polk Audio fits in there just perfect without a bracket or an adapter. And it's like, what the hell's going on here? How are
Yeah.
you deciding what is 5 1/4 and what is 6 and what's 6.5?
And that's how the rear is on that Trooper. The only mids that I have or coax or anything I could fit in there were the kicker. It's the KS the entry level line for the coax. I think it is. I think it's the KS
Where's
series.
RVH? He knows.
Yeah, he's probably watching Everyday Audios.
Oh,
If he is, I'm gonna kill him.
that's okay.
RVH, if you're watching Everyday Audios right now, you're dead to me. So what else you got going on? Anything else?
So the other big thing I have going on is the passive radiator build, and this one's taken a while because I got to develop some skills I don't have yet in order to pull off the passive radiator build. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the back seat of the Dodge pickup truck. It's a 3rd gen Dodge Ram. It's really old, but it runs. So I had to put a new motor in a few years ago, so I got to keep it going so I get my money out of it. If you find yourself in the market for an older Dodge truck and you see one with the 4.6 liter, the non-Hemi engine, leave it behind. Those things have a tragic flaw. There's the material where the valves seat to go into the pistons, they've got some kind of lining on them that's not made out of metal. It's some metallized powder or something, and it degrades, it chips off, it gets into the engine, it destroys the motor. And so there you go. Spend spend $5,000 more for one with a Hemi in it, or else you can buy one of those and a second motor in a couple of years for $5,000. Whichever one you want to do is fine with me. But if you go and buy the Hemi up front, you'll have the Hemi. So the back seat in those things, you can lift the back seat about 1.5 inches to gain a little more airspace. There's just not much back there now. The prefab box I have now is I think it's like 0.65 cubic feet per side. So you can lift it 1.5 inches, and because there's so much space, that helps open the airspace up a lot. And the prefab boxes will go all the way back to the back of the cabin. There's room back there. It's where our amplifiers are at now. There's plenty of room for most modern amplifiers. So a DSP, 3 amplifiers, some fused distribution blocks, all underneath the seat between the back of the cabin and the subwoofer enclosure. Well, I'm going to fill that entire space with a fiberglass subwoofer box, and I think I might be able to get as much as 2 cubic feet net volume back there. And if I can get 2 cubic feet of net volume and get an extra 1.5 inches, it just opens the possibilities for what you can put back there. But when I do that, I lose my space for my amplifiers.
So you're going to move them.
Center console build.
Oh.
I've taken the center console out. I think I posted some on the Facebook group. Some of us YouTubers are in a Facebook group just for us. And I posted a few pics of my first mock-up of that. And when I mocked that up, I started placing amplifiers in it, just like let's stick one on the side, stick one on the ground, just kind of see where all they'll fit. Everything that's back there can fit with plenty of room just in the center console space. But since I'm building it, I'm going to build it out where it hits the dash, goes all the way to the back seats. I want to make enough room where I can put some lithium batteries in there.
Oh man!
And that way, whenever I'm ready to upgrade to lithium, that way I'm going to have the room. I could do extra subwoofer and go up in power. El Fuego says an extra inch half is always helpful. That's what she said. See, when I said that, I knew someone was going to say that.
Yeah.
I may have said that just so someone could have said that. I may have been setting you up, El Fuego.
So which lithium batteries are you looking at?
So I forget what they're called, but the ones Parker Dashel put together.
The headway,
yeah, because
38 120 or something like that.
Yeah, because the headways will match up to factory voltage better than the Yinglongs will.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to keep as normal a battery under the hood as possible. And I think it's to upgrade that battery, maybe put an AGM up there, and then do the headways. Is that what you said they were?
Yeah.
And the one he put in was designed to support that 3,000 watt teraamps he's got, or is it a 12,000 watt? What is he running?
The 12K. The 12K.
Big amplifier. Yeah. It's huge. I'm not going to put more than 2,000 watts total system power. I just want to make sure that I'm not overwhelming the alternator. The alternator is still the same one that came in the truck. And so I'd like to upgrade to a 240 amp alternator. That's on the wish list. Got to buy that before I can switch to Milwaukee tools. That's why I got to wait till I hit 100,000 subs before I can get Milwaukee tools.
Yeah.
I'd like to do, this is long range before I do that, but I want to build that console where there's room for all that now, so that if I decide or when I'm ready to put the batteries in, I can just go, all right, console's ready, open up a panel, slip some batteries in, hook up the wires, and off I go. And that console build is gonna take a while to make it fit and make it look nice. Been going back and watching a lot of car audio fabrication videos the last few weeks, trying to figure out how I'm going to pull this off.
And then you got to order a ton of tools because his stuff is very, very advanced. Scott says lithium was the best move I made. He has the E540 amp hour, outperforms my previous 540 amp hour of excess power. That's pretty smooth. I mean, that's the thing about the lithium. You get the high discharge rate. If they're quick charging, that's really nice. But on the headway cells, if you're buying them used, I would buy like 4 or 5 extra.
That sounds smart.
Because there's always something wrong with the used ones.
So Roy Resha says, if I'm only doing 2K, get a Group 31 or a 34 AGM North Star. That's an option. That's definitely an option for sure. And just anyone else in the chat who has advice on batteries, when I don't know something, I admit it. I don't think I know much at all about batteries. red on this side and black on that side. Make sure you don't cross them up, kind of stuff. I got that part down. But when you start talking about amp hours and cold cranking amps, and I start to glaze over. I don't understand this stuff yet. And so if I'm only doing 2,000 watts, do I need to upgrade the alternator? It's a 130 amp alternator from the factory, and it's an old truck. So like, there's no power seat, there's power windows and power door locks and a loud radio, and that's about it.
I would say that no, you don't need to. I've had in the Suburban, I've actually ran couple big amps in there, pretty good. You know, like I said, only 1,500 watts, but I had a 140 amp alternator in there, no extra battery whatsoever, and didn't.
That's a stock battery.
Yeah, stock battery.
A stock alternator, rather. Stock alternator.
Yeah, stock alternator, which it was 145 amps, so it was a little bit more, but
yeah,
like a lithium battery would put you in a pretty good range. Even a Group 34, like a big North Star would, if you had room, but of course it's going to be heavy. It's going to take up the room. And a big Group 31 North Star is going to cost you probably more than you'll spend getting those cheap headways.
Gotcha. I'm looking through the chat, trying to sort through all this. Think about North Star is you are stuck at 12 volts. So if amps raised, so Scott's got the information. I might need to meet him up on Facebook or something, ask some questions. Natural Creature says lithium is double in amp hours compared to AGM. 40 amp hour lithium is 80 amp hour AGM. Okay. That sounds a whole lot like my 10s bang like 12s. No offense.
Yeah. It's not really
an amp hour.
Yeah, an amp hour is an amp hour. That's what people don't get. So
it's the discharge rate.
It's the discharge rate and the charging rate as well. Like the headways. If you just wanted to use one bank of headways with your 130 amp alternator, that's not going to be good. You're going to probably want a minimum of 2 banks, 16 amp hours, so that they'll accept that higher charging. But an amp hour is an amp hour is an amp hour. When they rate these, they do it like a 0.2 C test or a 0.5 C test. And it doesn't matter if it's lithium. It doesn't matter if it's AGM. You're going to get your amp hour rating or your what they call watt hours. The problem is, though, if you're wanting to run it for long periods, if you want to run for very long periods of time, depending on how fast that lithium can recharge, it's kind of fooling you. So the little 10 amp hour Titan 8, that can fool you because it can charge so fast. You're draining it fast, you're charging it fast, and it fools you into thinking that you have a much bigger amp hour battery. But when I'm load testing over here, and Derek can tell you this, lithium batteries are not as useful as you think versus pure AGM batteries, because I'm pulling a sine wave, completely flat sine wave, static load, and it's really, really draining those batteries. So I would do better myself with 6 to 8 to 12 AGMs over the equivalent amount of money in lithium.
Interesting. Cujo Check says he's running 2K in his Cobalt, no upgrade. I got an audio control 4.800 and a kicker 1200.1. What I like about those two amplifiers is the connections are all on the edge and the controls are on the top. And I think it'd look really good in my console build to have that peeking out between the front seat and the back seat, where you're going on one side and you see controls from the side through a window, and the other side, the sub-amp controls on the side through a window. So I'm looking at those Kicker Prime series and those audio control amps. The audio control amps, though, they're great amps, but wow, audio control's fond of their gear. They think it's special.
Yeah.
They're proud of it.
And it's because they make it all here in the USA. And, everyone wants the USA made. Well, that's what it costs. That's what it costs to make something in the USA. I mean, it's just a fact of life.
I got to disagree with you on that. Right. The price you observe in the marketplace, a smart company is charging the highest price the market will bear.
Yeah.
And it's not that it costs more to make it in the US. It does. But you can charge more when you make it in the US.
Yeah.
And that's the thing to remember. And that's, I mean, if you're pricing correctly, you're pricing such that you are going to get the highest price you can possibly squeeze out of your customers. You don't want your customers looking at your amp and going, "Wow, that thing's super cheap. What a great deal!" Right? You want them to go, "Oh, that's kind of expensive, but I'm paying for the quality, so I'll do it."
Yeah.
That's where the smart money's at.
And a lot of people, I mean, no one's making a completely 100% American-made amp. The transistors and everything, those aren't all made here, and you have to source some of those from China. And that's a lot of the cost saving in China is all those are in one place or within a landmass, so they can easily get those back and forth via truck versus a shipping container and all that stuff. So yeah, not anything hardly is 100% made in USA.
Right. The audio control amp, the one thing I like about them the most probably is how efficient they are. I want to say that one of them, Big D threw on the dyno was, 80% efficient, 85% efficient. If you've got efficient amplifiers, you don't need as big a battery, you don't need as big a wire, you don't need as big an alternator.
Right.
So Craig Engelman said a Made in USA sticker is worth $1 a watt.
He's probably right.
That's pretty close to it.
Yeah.
Pretty close to it. So that's the big thing I have going on. It's going to take me months to get that project done. I'm diving into territory that I've never dove into. Integrating and molding that console into the dash so it looks right is going to be a challenge. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, that's always. Are you just gonna go like you're gonna try to have viewing windows? You're gonna have lighting, or is it gonna be just a simple wood build?
The goal is to do viewing windows and lighting. I would like to put those viewing windows behind acrylic, but I might just leave them open where you can look right through and kind of reach in and touch an amp. But I'd like to do a viewing window in the space that's between the front seat and the dash, and the space that's between the back seat and the front seat. I think I'd like to, and ideally I'd like to have like a cup holder I can put in. And when I pull the cup holder out, I have access to the bolts that hold it all together. What I'd like to do is like build a frame that sits in the truck and then mount all the amplifiers to that frame and then build a shell that mounts to the frame. So that if I ever need to get into it, I can just pull the cup holder out, get access to the bolts, and up goes the shell. And then I have access to all the wiring and everything.
That's the smartest way to get the cleanest look. That's probably the smartest way to do it.
Now, it's going to take me 3 or 4 months to figure out how to make it work. It's going to take a couple of prototypes and some mock-ups. So that's, and then when you dive into something I guess you've never done before, if I'd built 10 center consoles, I'd be easy at this. But after I saw how much space I have in the center console, I'm seriously thinking about just putting a big 12 in the center console and being done with it, leaving the amps where they are, because that might be easier.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, well, if you're doing a center console, it might be. What 12 were you thinking about using? The Ultimax?
Probably. I'm kind of a Dayton Audio fanboy.
Yeah.
I've got a pair of their 10-inch high outputs sitting in the garage, and I've done some tinkering around in WinISD, and I think I can get 2 of those and 2 big 12-inch passive radiators to fit in underneath the back seats. The frequency response in that setup is going to be just almost level flat all the way till about 30 hertz, then start dropping off. At least the modeling in WinISD says so. And so I'm actually toying, since I've already got 2 of the subs sitting around, just going that route. So when you pop open that back seat, it looks like there's 4 subwoofers back there. I've had a lot of fun playing around with passive radiators. I got a bit of a passive radiator fetish, I suppose.
I was the same way with Isobaric. I like the concept of it, and it's just it looks cool. Once you pulled it off successfully a couple times, it's like, yes, I can do this. This is my thing now.
I
heard something over there.
I was chatting with Toys DIY Audio 123 Toy. I think you've had him on 12 Volt Talk before. And I was chatting with him about an Isobaric build. I made a really cheap subwoofer for my channel out of one of those GRS 12s from Parts Express. It's like a $23 subwoofer. So they're just dirt cheap. And so if you just want a cheap subwoofer, it's not a bad one. He was looking at what it would take to do an Isobaric in those. And I think that's probably pretty smart, because they're like the old school subwoofers from the 90s that lightweight cone, not a lot of magnet force, and the advantage of the Isobaric is you get to double that magnet force. Don't move the cone area up any, so you lose some potential gains with that. But that works great for cheap subwoofers.
Yeah.
And someone posted, I saw it a second ago, TAS 2340, don't understand why Isobaric is not used anymore. Isobaric is just too expensive because you got to buy double the number of subwoofers.
Yeah.
And that made sense back when the motor force on subwoofers wasn't as strong. But now it's kind of like, really? You're going to buy two instead of one? You're going to buy four instead of two?
Yeah. And there's the thing about Isobaric that people don't get is you're gaining more than just output. So I would say 80% of the people I talk to, everything they're talking about is pure output.
Right.
So when they ask me, should I Isobaric? No, because you want the most output. You need to put each subwoofer in their peak performance enclosure,
Yep.
and you're going to get more output. Now,
cone area matters.
Cone area, and if you want more cone control, you want it to play a little bit lower, you can tweak the settings on the enclosure a little bit, and you can get more performance out of the two drivers as one, and you can really dig deep. So it depends on what you want to do with it. If you just want to get loud, don't Isobaric. But if you want to save space and get loud, Isobaric, because you can. If money's no object, you can double the amount of speakers that you have in any build, and you can murder like that. But it's going to cost you, like you said, exponentially more.
Right. Jordan KF asked if anyone uses Dayton subs in their car. I'm a Dayton Audio fanboy. I don't know why. They're just I think I like the fact that there's no branding on the cones. And sometimes the branding on speaker cones gets a little bit. I think about those silver cones that were big a few years ago. The Kicker had them, and everyone else did too. And it's like, man, that stuff was hideous.
Yeah.
But I've got right now running an Ultimax 10 on 500 watts in my passive radio test box in my truck, and I love it. It's the loudest thing I've had in my truck since it's every bit as loud as the 210s I had before on the same power. So they work just fine. Dayton Audio subs are nothing wrong with them.
Dean had 4 10s in ISO XTR, Orion XTRs. I bet that sounded good. I never ISO any XTRs.
Hey Dean, congratulations on the victory, man.
Oh yeah, that was dope. They had a big weekend. Haley graduated. Dean got the award. It's a big weekend in the family there.
Third Era says that Isobaric works good when you want to build something cool, but only have 4 cubic feet and have 4 15s.
Right. That's it, man.
Yeah, that's it.
Uncle Bobby's in the chat as well. Well, we're winding up to the kicker time. So what do you say we log off here? You want to plug anything before I plug my 21st announcement?
I don't, not anything in particular. I'm just, thank you so much for having me on. I'm thrilled to be here. Before we wrap up, I want to say thank you, not just for having me on, but last year you did 12 days of streaming. You allowed me to pop into your stream a couple of times and crash the party. I appreciate that. And as I've started my channel a little over 18 months ago, you give me a lot of encouragement. You jump into the comments and tell me that I'm doing a good job on something. I sure have appreciated that over the last 18 months. It's nice to know that the people who've kind of been there before and know the struggles when they pop in and say, hey, good work, keep it up. It's good stuff. And I appreciate you, Rob. I appreciate your positive attitude. And I love your channel. I wish it was a million subscribers. You're doing a great job.
I say too many random stuff. That's what's keeping me down, but I don't care. I like being here, and your channel's blowing up, man. 18 months and you're already at what, 4,400 subs, something like that?
Just about to hit 4,400. Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, according to I've been tracking, and you and I are adding just about the same number of subs a month until November, when I hit a bad spell. I actually injured my knee. I got a video where I was using the Craig rip cut, and I was down on my knees a lot and injured my knee. So that's what happens when you get old and fat. You break yourself when you start doing anything. And so I was down about, I couldn't stand to film. And so I was unproductive for a while. So But when I was going to catch you till that happened. Now I got to get restarted.
Oh, you're probably going to pass me, man. I'm fine with that. But as far as my announcement, the 21st, we have some stuff coming up. It's a pretty big announcement. Justin knows about it. Someone else knows about it. A few people know about it, but stay tuned next Monday. Outside of that, tomorrow we are having 12E Talk. That will be my 4th day of live streaming. It'll be on 12E Talk. And then, of course, me and the dude Dean in the chat Thursdays. We'll talk about something random. Dean may or may not drop an F-bomb. We'll see what happens. And, yeah, Friday I have another guest. So that's all I got coming up. I appreciate you joining me, man. I had a good time.
We only watch you and Dean for the F-bombs, man. That's
yeah. See, I've never dropped the F-bomb. So if I do that, we need like a drinking game to where if I do it, you have to drink like 10 shots or something.
That sounds like a win.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to take off, sign off. Me and the DIY audio guy are out.
I'm going to jump on the Kicker stream, see if I won that big
yeah,
big
me too.
box.
Yeah, you guys go check out. Derek's going to be on the Kicker stream. It should be a good time. I'm sure he's going to give Kip a hard time, I hope. And if you guys are in the chat, you guys go over there and give Kip a hard time the whole time. I just want to see what he says. So I'll see you guys on stream. And, yeah, we out of here.